welcome to Out of the Box Radio with me, your host, Christine Blasdale. Out of the Box Radio is a weekly podcast of audible ear candy dedicated to bringing a fresh perspective on this thing that we call life. And each and every week, we're going to be diving into the topics that matter most with lively conversations on issues such as health, wellness, and transformational healing, all with the goal of creating a better world and becoming a happier human being. I will be your tour guide for this epic adventure, and each and every week we're going to be embarking on a journey with the ultimate goal being transformation to our highest potential. And now, let's get out of the box. Hello everyone, welcome back to Out of the Box Radio. I am your host, Christine Blasdale, and I'm very happy that you tuned in today because we're going to be talking about one of my favorite subjects, and that is healing. And my guest today is Suzy Gruzen. She is a certified crystal therapist, Reiki master, and certified Pranic healer based in Los Angeles. Although she has clients worldwide, and she's here today to talk about, again, my favorite subject, healing. Welcome to the program, Suzy Gruzen.
Oh, thank you very much. It's my pleasure to be here.
Now, I was talking about my favorite subject is healing, and I always love to find out from my guests how they get into the professions that they're in, and understanding that you are really a master healer. I would love to find out your story of how you got into this whole world of healing, and let our listeners know how you got started.
Well, when I was around 5-6 years old, and a few years beyond that, I would love to visit my grandparents' home. They were Orthodox Jewish, so they would pray 2 times a day. And of course, being with my grandparents, I always felt a lot of love coming from them, felt very secure. But I've always questioned that there was this feeling in their house. It felt very peaceful and loving, and it felt like there was a presence there, and I could never explain it. And as I got older, I started to realize what that energy was. When I was about 25 years old, I started having memories of a past life doing crystal therapy healings in Egypt and in the temples there. And from that point on, I started to explore more of the metaphysical area and what the healings was all about. A few years later, I met my crystal healing, my crystal teacher, and who's a world-renowned crystal therapist. Her name is Patricia Bankins. And from there, I started learning about Reiki, another energy healing, natural energy healing that stems from many, many years ago. And I started to progress with the different modalities. And several years ago, I was told about pranic healing, and I embarked upon my studies with Master Stephen Coe, who's a direct disciple of Master Kwok Sui, who is the modern founder of pranic healing. So that's how I got into the area, and I've been a certified crystal therapist and Reiki master for the last 20 years, and I'm also a certified pranic healer.
Now let's talk about those different modalities, because you had mentioned crystal healing, and then the last thing you had mentioned was pranic healing. What is that for our listeners to understand? What is pranic healing?
Okay, so pranic healing is a evolved and tested system of energy medicine that uses prana, or another word for it is ki, which is our energy. It's the energy that comes from the sun, from the moon, from the earth. And that energy is used to balance and harmonize and transform the body's energy. So what happens is that the energy that we take in and give out is what keeps us alive. It's like breathing. You inhale and you exhale. This is energy that keeps our system alive through the chakra system, which I will explain about that a little bit later. And what this pranic healing does, it helps the body to self-repair itself, because it's a living entity and it has the ability to self-heal. And what happens with the energy, it helps to ground us and helps to work to balance the physical and emotional and mental bodies. So that's what pranic healing does.
And just the whole idea of healing. Let's give our listeners a little bit of an idea. I have my own ideas about healing, but what are some of the things that your clients go to you for in regards to healing? And I'm sure that it runs the gamut of whatever they're feeling physically, like, I've got a really horrible neck pain that bothers me, but some other things that maybe people wouldn't consider when it comes to healing.
So with crystal therapy and Reiki and pranic healing, it's really great for the gamut of different things, from physical to mental to emotional to even spiritual. A lot of people come to me for the reduction of stress or pain or anxiety, depression. People also come to me with issues that they've had from childhood. They're dealing with guilt. They're dealing with some trauma that has taken place. People will come to me, and what my specialty is they come to me with addiction problems. They come to me with body image problems, with eating disorder problems. So it works on many, many different levels. It works on fear. I actually had a client that came to me. She was so afraid to get on an airplane, and for many, many years. And so I worked with her. Within the first session, she was 50% better. And after the second session, she was 80% better, and she was able to get on an airplane, and now she flies all the time.
Wow. Now, the question is, do you think that some of the fears and the healing that needs to take place with people currently originated or were manifested in past lives, in previous lifetimes?
Absolutely. We come into our bodies with some of the things that we had not healed from previous lifetimes, and they are brought into this lifetime to be able to heal those things. But it also stems from this lifetime, our environment, the people that we were raised by, and they sometimes instill their own fears into us. But absolutely, it can come from another lifetime.
And when you're working with a client and you're dealing with, let's say, childhood trauma, do you see it or feel it? How does that come to you?
Well, sometimes the client will tell me right off the bat what they're dealing with and what they would like to heal. Other times they are not even aware. They just know they're in fear. They know that something is not right in their life. And I will actually feel the energy in the different areas of the body so I can see where there's a blockage. So, for instance, if we're dealing with second chakra, and I feel there's an energy block there, it could be a creative energy block, or it could be something stemming from childhood. It could be an abuse issue. And sometimes I will get an intuitive hit of what that is, and sometimes I won't. But if you're clearing out the energy fields, it really doesn't matter what the problem is. What happens is these traumas get lodged and stuck in the aura and in the chakras, and those need to come out to be healed. So sometimes it's not necessary to know what the trauma is.
Right. Gotcha. Now, you mentioned the aura. If you can explain to our listeners, what is the aura?
Right. Okay. So the aura is the energy field that is around your body. It's a blueprint of your physical body. And that energy body, or the aura, another word for it, absorbs life energy, and it distributes it throughout the physical body into the muscles, into the organs, into the glands. So that aura is actually what I am working on when I am going to heal somebody. I'm not actually working on the physical body. I'm working on the aura, because the aura holds all the memory and all of the negative thoughts that need to be healed and cleared out. So the aura is what surrounds the body, which is an actual blueprint of your physical body.
And when you're working on people, do you see the aura or do you feel it?
Personally, I feel it. I'm able to feel. What I do is I scan the aura and the energy centers, which are called the chakras, to feel where there are blockages. And if there's a blockage, for instance, let's say in the third chakra that I can feel, you may have issues of low self-esteem. You may have issues of not having the confidence that you need. You may have digestive issues. I can feel where those are, and I clear that up.
Wow. And you had mentioned the word chakras too, in conjunction with the aura. Again, and I know a lot of our listeners are aware of that, but a lot of people aren't. What are the chakras, or the different chakras that are in or along the body, the body energy, and what are they responsible for?
Okay, so a chakra is the Sanskrit word for wheel or disc. There's 7 major chakras. There actually are more, but for purposes of this discussion, there are 7 main chakras, and they align along the spine and in the front of the body, and they go from the base of the spine to the top of the head. So these chakras, they spin, and they take in prana, which is energy, and they give off energy. So when they release energy, it's actually dirty energy. And this is what keeps us vibrant and healthy. Each of these energy centers onto the nerve centers in the body, and they contain bundles of nerves, and major organs are connected, which is helping with our psychological, emotional, and spiritual states of being. And so if you think of a chakra, if you are taking a shower and the water is spinning down the drain, but now you have hair plugging that drain. So now the water is backing up and the energy is not flowing properly. But once you remove the hair, then the energy flows again and everything goes back into balance. Right. So, for instance, if a person is suffering from heartbreak or having a bad relationship, and the energy is not cleared out of the heart chakra, so what tends to happen if the bad energy stays in there, then you can develop bronchitis, and cough, chest pains. So this is why we remove the dirty energy. So starting with the first chakra, which is at the base of the spine, this relates to stability and security and our basic needs. It also relates to the bladder and the colon. And when the chakra is open, we feel safe. The second chakra is our creativity center and our sexual center. And it's responsible for our creative expression and for our reproductive system. The third chakra is related to our personal power, our willpower, our confidence, versus domineering, obsessive, compulsive feelings and feeling like you're being stuck. The fourth chakra is located at the heart center, and this serves as a bridge between our mind and body and emotions. It's the middle point between the lower chakras and the higher chakras. The fifth chakra is located at the throat, and it's our source of verbal expression and the ability to speak our highest truth. And it also relates to the neck, the thyroid, the parathyroid. The sixth chakra is the third eye, and it's also called the Ajna chakra, which is our center of intuition and our psychic knowing. And the seventh chakra is located at the top of the head, and it relates to our enlightenment and spiritual connection to our higher self.
And the idea is to have all of these, as much as possible, being cleared of any negative energy and sort of spinning, so to speak. Like I'm just doing this for people can get an idea a picture in their mind, so that these are spinning in a particular way and cleared of any of the negative energy. Is that what the object is, or what we want to try and achieve?
Well, what the chakras do is they take in prana, which is our life force. This is what is actually keeping us alive. So when the energy comes in, it's fueling our energy system and our bodies with clean energy. And when it's expelling dirty energy, it's releasing negative things that are going on. They tend to get clogged. So it's always a good idea to try to keep clearing them and releasing them. Because if the energy stays in the chakras and it stays in the aura, it will eventually go into the physical body, and that's when disease starts.
Gotcha. Now, one of the things that is amazing about the work that you do, I know that you work on people there in your practice in Los Angeles. I know because I actually had a session with you, and
yes.
And so we were in somewhat close physical proximity. Although you didn't, yeah, you're right. You don't touch the body. You just work with the energy around the body. But you also work with people remotely. In other words, people you have clients that are thousands of miles away from you, and you're able to do healing work on them. Now, what type of work do you do with them when they are not physically close to you, where, the same type of work?
Yes. Okay. So the modality that I use when I do distant healing is the Pranic healing. And it doesn't require physical contact, because what I'm doing is I'm working on the energy body. Is what I explained earlier. I'm working on the aura itself. So I am able to visualize the person and clear the energy fields through the aura and the chakras. I don't actually have to have the person in front of me, because I'm not working on the physical body.
Right. So you just need them to be aware of what you're doing and wanting you to do this, obviously, right?
Yes, absolutely. So we will have a phone call prior to the session, and we'll talk about what is happening in their life and what we want to work on. And then I go ahead and do the pranic healing. So I'm in my office, and I can have a client in the Philippines, in Hong Kong, or anywhere in the world, because what's happening on the energy level in the aura, it will affect the physical body. So if you're actually having physical pain, that will change, and that will start to feel better and lessen, because I'm working on the energy body.
Now let's talk about something that you had mentioned, and when you worked with me, it was something that you were clearing or cleansing or cutting. I don't know what the word is, but energy cords. What are energy cords? And are there good energy cords and not so good energy cords? Tell us about that.
Yeah, so I do a process called cord cutting. What happens is when we're in relationship with people, we create energy cords. So if you're in a good relationship, you're in love, we create these cords through our heart, and they go back and forth to the person. So those are good cords. We want to have those cords. Those feel good. But there are those negative cords that get created with people that we're in relationship with that could be draining to us. People cord into us to take our energy, so to speak, because they're not feeling very good about themselves, or the relationship is a negative relationship. So these cords are being attached to each other. And people will cord into our spleen or to our liver or anywhere in the body for that matter. And we can feel very drained. That's one of the reasons we feel drained in relationships when they're not working out so well. So my job is to actually cut those cords and to be able to clean out the areas with my energy work. So those cords are clean and you get your energy back. However, those cords can reattach as long as you're in a negative relationship with somebody. So you have to continually cut those cords.
Correct.
So that's something that I do.
So if you're still engaging with that person that is a negative, let's say you're in an abusive relationship, an abusive marriage, and you see that person constantly, or you're engaging with them, then those cords are being reattached. Those energy cords are being reattached.
Exactly.
I think of it. How I imagine it. It kind of reminds me. I think maybe Batman had this thing where he would shoot it out, and it was like a grappling cord. It had a grappling hook.
Yes.
Yeah?
Yes.
That is when you were talking about these energy cords, and in particular with the negative energy. I mean, it's not when you're madly in love with somebody, you're sending out the most beautiful energy, right? But
absolutely.
But when there is an adversarial energy, that a drain, when someone is attacking you or saying bad things about you or wanting to hurt you, that's it. If they want to hurt you, I see that. That's what I see is like this metal grappling hook being shot out and
right.
and hooking into you.
And hooks into you. Exactly
yeah.
right. And that's what happens. So we want to release those cords. And the more you do it, the less they have an opportunity or they have the chance to be able to cord into you. Well, because you're not allowing it anymore. It takes a little bit of time. You have to do the cord cutting for a while, depending on how negative the relationship is, or how often you see the person. But eventually that starts to change and they can no longer cord into you.
I have a brilliant suggestion for you. I think you can just stand out in front of a divorce court with your business card, Suzy, and do quite well.
Great idea. Thank you, Christine. Great idea.
That's a free one. That's a freebie for you. That's a freebie. And I think that's fantastic. I think that is something that is really required, and it's never talked about, Suzy. It's never discussed. I think from past relationships or where your heart has been broken or people have hurt you, we just say, well, buck up, I'm going to just move on. And you do, and you move on, and you go about your life. But there's like a resonance, isn't there? There's a resonance energy that's there in your field until you're able to clear that. And nobody knows how to clear that.
That's exactly right. And that's one of the ways to do it. Exactly right. One of the techniques that I use, and I have my forgiveness technique, is where you visualize the person in front of you, and you're coming from your higher self and you're speaking to their higher self, and you forgive that person for all that has happened, for what you've done to them, what they've done to you, and that also helps to release that energy.
Now doing that from your highest self to their highest self would probably be easier than dealing with someone who's being, I'll be honest, with someone who's being an asshole to you at that moment, correct? Right?
Of course. And they're not actually really standing in front of you, but the intention and the act of doing this technique helps to release that. And it helps you because you're actually forgiving them and you can move forward, and you're giving them permission to move on.
To move on, go bug somebody else.
Right.
I don't wish that upon anybody, but go bug somebody else. Okay. Now this next subject that I want to talk about, because it's one of your modalities for healing, and I find this extremely interested. And we as humanity, I have a feeling that we knew about these wonderful gifts from the earth a long time ago, but it's all been taught out of us. It's all been religionized, dogmaized out of us. But let's talk about crystals. And I know there is an energy, a force within crystals, but most people, I don't want people to, when I talk about crystals, some people will like roll their eyes and they go, oh, like unicorn fairies and stardust, pixie, woo, woo, woo.
Right.
There's a great knowledge and every crystal is different. Can you just talk? I mean, like a beginner's guide, I guess, to crystals, because
sure.
I know there's a lot more to crystals than just, oh, it's really pretty on my bedside table.
And yes, they can be pretty on your bedside table, and when it is, it's actually doing something for you. So, yes, crystal therapy. It's about placing the assorted stones on and around the body in such a pattern that it resonates with the chakras, and it creates a matrix that assists the body in releasing blockages. So what the crystals do, they put the client into a deep state of relaxed meditation. And when that happens, the client can then release and process deeply held issues and patterns that they've held on to at a much faster rate. So it's allowing positive healing energy to flow into the body as negative energy flows out.
So it's like an amplifier,
and so
right? Like an amplifier coming in and an amplifier pushing it out?
That's a very good explanation, right? Exactly, exactly. I can tell you that some of the crystals for each of the chakras and what they're used for. So for the first chakra, what's very good to use is garnet or ruby. And I would only use those if the person is not very angry or they're dealing with cancer, because red amplifies the energy and it helps things to grow. So if you have cancer or HIV, you don't want to use red. Instead, you would want to use black tourmaline, which is very protective, hematite, which is very grounding, or a smoky quartz that helps you to release the past. With the second chakra, you want to use an orange stone, which is a carnelian or orange calcite. So if you remember that the second chakra is used for our creative juices, and what carnelian or orange calcite does, it enhances creativity. It also supports in dealing with your emotions and your fears, and it's very good for the reproductive system. This third chakra, which is, again, the personal power and willpower and your confidence. So what's very good for that is citrine or tiger's eye. If you're having digestive issues, then I would use an opposing crystal, which would be an amethyst. It would calm down the digestive system. For the fourth chakra, the center for love and connection, it's very good as rose quartz or green aventurine. People who are dealing with maybe eating disorders or low self-esteem, thulite is a very good crystal to use. For the throat chakra, there's sodalite, blue lace agate, turquoise, aquamarine. It helps us to speak our truth. For the sixth chakra, which is our third eye, center of intuition, lepidolite, azurite, amethyst, which is very good for strengthening the intuition. And last, for the crown chakra, the seventh chakra, what is very good to use is clear quartz or selenite or, again, amethyst.
Now
these help you connect to your higher self and to source energy, to God.
And you had mentioned amethyst. I know on my session, you had, there was amethyst. I think you had amethyst placed sort of around my body, very relaxing. And then you put the amethyst on my third eye, or right in between my eyebrows.
Yes.
For people who don't know where the third eye is. And wow, I liked that. I don't know what that connection was, but it really, remember when you put that on?
Yes, absolutely. It's very soothing, very calming, and it opens up that energy center. It opens up the third eye, so you feel connected.
Very powerful, very, very powerful. Even though I was relaxed, it was a very powerful connection that I felt. I really liked that a lot. And crystals, you had mentioned too, when you were very, very young, you had sort of like a regression, or you saw yourself in another life working with crystals. I am a person who believes that cultures long time before our world of cell phones and smuggy cars, traffic on the 405, that we were utilizing these tools much more, obviously, than we do today. Do you have any sort of flashbacks or dreams or remembrances of what you did with the crystals? Or how we use them? Or how we as humans use them?
Crystal therapy is a very, very ancient healing modality. It's been used when I had my memories back in Egypt, that I was doing exactly what I'm doing now with the crystal. Or a lot of people would carry them. I actually carry crystals with me today. I can see myself wearing them around my head. They were used in actually heal the body. Another way is putting crystals in water and making an elixir and drinking the water. So it's infused in the body that way. So my memories that came up, I can see myself doing this, and I can actually feel the excitement, like, oh, this is very familiar to me. Right. And that's why I've always had an affinity for Egypt and not really understanding it until I had this memory.
Have you gone to Egypt?
No, I have not been to Egypt. No.
But
not yet anyway.
Yeah, well, yeah, exactly. There's still lots of time. There's still lots of time. When do you yourself put crystals in, or a crystal in water and drink it? And if so, do you use different crystals, or is there one in particular that you use for any benefit?
I do put it in water and I do drink it. And depending on what I'm feeling that day, it's an intuitive thing. A lot of the times I put rose quartz in because it's a very loving stone. It opens up your heart center, and you want to be able to feel that love. So that's one quite often. I also put amethyst in if I'm feeling a little stressed and I want to relax, and I will drink that. I actually find it wonderful to be able to carry the stones. I'll put them in my pocket. I'll carry them in my purse. But you shouldn't also carry too many at one time, because then it blocks a lot of the your natural body's energy. It can weigh you down. So I'll carry 1 or 2 crystals.
Gotcha.
That's very effective.
And let's talk too about the vibration of it. I know with the amethyst, when you were working with me, there was at one point where I saw this absolutely beautiful violet color. Is there a connection between the color of the stone and its vibrational energy? Because that's what I saw this color, and it was the most gorgeous color I've ever seen in my mind's eye, I guess, so to speak.
Well, interestingly enough, each chakra has its own color. So the first chakra is red, the second chakra is orange, the third is yellow, the fourth, the heart, is pink and green, the throat is blue, the third eye is indigo, and the crown is white or violet. And
okay.
So in a basic balancing, you put the corresponding color of the stone to each of the chakras. But if there's a different effect you want to create, for instance, as I mentioned, with the third chakra, it's yellow, and you would put a yellow stone if you're dealing with self-esteem issues, or you want to build your confidence. But if you're having some digestive issues, you want to use the opposing color, which would be an amethyst, to calm it down, to soothe it. So the first chakra corresponds with the heart chakra. The second chakra corresponds with the throat chakra. The third chakra corresponds with your third eye. So if you're wanting to have an opposite effect, you'll use a different color. But then there are other things, like you are working on healing the bone or the ligaments, and you want to use something like a kyanite and put it on the place where you're trying to heal that. So a lot of it is intuitive, and a lot of it is some basic knowledge.
And so, right, years and years of you practicing this, exactly.
Right, exactly.
And let's talk about Reiki. That was something that we had mentioned earlier. What is Reiki healing?
Okay. So Reiki is
Reiki. Sorry.
Reiki is a gentle hands-on healing method where I'm an open channel for transmitting life force, which is prana or ki. And this energy is channeled through my hands and then onto the body of the client, and it helps to activate its own natural ability to heal itself. And what it does, it releases blocked energy, it cleanses the body of toxins, and it works to create a state of balance and harmony. And it promotes relaxation and healing. So all of these modalities are using energy, whether it's through my hands or through the crystals. And they all create healing ability for the body. And they all work on all the different levels: physical, emotional, mental, and spiritual.
So you have like sort of
Reiki is, I use it primarily for stress and tension, to help with better sleep, and it reduces blood pressure and relief from pain. And most of the time I will do it along with crystal therapy. So as the client is laying on the table and they have the crystals on them, I will also use Reiki to strengthen the crystals and to heal the body even more.
Now, we had spoken earlier about pranic healing, and one thing that we're working on the subtle body energies, and the some of those cords and that energy that's stuck inside. But what about dealing with the mind? Or is there a separation between the body and mind? Or is it all intertwined?
So there is something in the pranic healing modalities is called pranic psychotherapy. And what pranic psychotherapy does is help to heal addictions and compulsions and phobias. What happens with our energy bodies or our thought processes, we have negative emotions, or we have negative thoughts, or we have feelings of fear. These emotions get stuck in the aura, and they get stuck in the chakras. And what pranic psychotherapy does, it disintegrates these negative thoughts that get lodged in our aura and in our chakras. And I'm able to extract and disintegrate the negative thought patterns, which is great addictions, alcoholism, smoking, food addictions, depression. And as I am removing these, it creates what they call thought entities. And you're producing little psychic beings if they're long-standing negative thoughts or phobias or addictions. And what I do is I extract and remove them. And when this happens, there's a chakra web that gets cracked. And once it gets cracked, that's why it's hard to overcome these addictions or phobias. So the difference between pranic psychotherapy and traditional psychotherapy is that with traditional psychotherapy, you're sitting and you're talking and you're rehashing all the old traumas and the phobias, which is great because you need to speak about these things. You need to release that energy. You need to get the thoughts and feelings out. Sometimes you're not even sure what your thoughts and feelings are. And that's all great and wonderful, but it takes many, many years to overcome. With the pranic psychotherapy, it quickly helps to overcome some of these addictions and phobias because you're actually removing the negative thoughts from the body.
Wow. So you can take someone who, let's say, is addicted to whatever, addicted to smoking or alcohol, and get to the core issue. And how can this be done in one session or many or several?
It will be done in several sessions, depending on how long the issue has been there, and it depends on how willing you are to release it.
There you go. Yeah, that's key, right?
That is key. That is key, because sometimes we become attached to these addictions and phobias, and you think that's who you are. I've recently been working with someone with compulsive overeating, and within 5 sessions, she felt she was 50% better. And within 10 sessions, she was doing much, much better. And her determination and willpower to continue on releasing all of this has gotten stronger. So if you have a goal that you want to reach, I also can help with strengthening your willpower and your determination with pranic psychotherapy.
I'm curious, because I'm listening to the audience right now, and what's going through their mind. I'm curious to find out what, and you obviously don't name any names, but of the clients that you've had, what would you say would be like the most noteworthy, or and I'm not going to say miraculous, like it's a miracle, but something that you witnessed that you were really like, wow, that was a huge. Be it either from some type of pain or phobia or fear or addiction or rapid healing. Are there any cases that stand out to you in mind that you would like to share with us?
Well, what happens with pranic psychotherapy? Not only are you releasing the negative thought forms, but what tends to come up is the shame and the guilt. And sometimes that could be what's holding someone back from progressing forward. And I remember one client that had long-standing guilt and shame from childhood. And she told me within one session, she felt like 80% of it was released. And so because of that shame and guilt, she had a food addiction. And after she released the shame and guilt, within a few sessions, she felt that her food addiction was much, much lessened. And this was within maybe 5 sessions. So it was a pretty speedy recovery, but she was a very willing client because she tried everything, every diet, every exercise program, anything you can think of, and this had shifted her life.
Because it didn't have anything to do with the food.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right.
It had to do with the energies that were lying underneath it from childhood. And isn't it true? We carry pain and trauma, be it either physical or sexual or mental or verbal abuse as children, because I think because we're such open vessels, we're so close to source. We are source when we're little tiny little babies, and my goodness, we just came from source. So those imprints, those things that happen to us when we're so young, we do carry them with us, even when we think that we've gotten over them. Oh, that happened when I was a kid. I'm okay now. I'm fine now, and we overachieve or we do whatever. But I do think that those things, they do stay with us. I've heard of something called the memory body, or that your body, and this is just your physical body, but I'm sure your energetic body holds on to those memories, and it could be 20, 30, 50, 60 years ago. Those were initially made. Can you talk about that? Are you familiar with that?
That's very true. Things that we've picked up from our environment and from our primary caregivers. Yes, those traumas, they do stay in our physical body. That's why we have pain eventually as we get older, because those memories, those negative memories, have not been released. It stays in the aura. It stays in the chakras. And all addiction, I believe, stems from not being able to deal with those emotions. It's a way to cover up the emotions. They're too painful. The memories are too painful. So we turn to food, we turn to drugs, we turn to alcohol and any other addictions, any other things that cause us to not feel our feelings. And that is definitely true, that it can stay in the memory.
Now, I know that if people want to contact you and book a session, either there in Los Angeles or remotely wherever they are, they can find you at...
It's vibrational-healing-therapies.com.
Okay. So people can go and check out the website and get in touch with you. But what about for people who don't have that ability? Can you give our listeners a couple of things that they can do on their own, little things that they can do on their own to assist some of the healing? Are there some things that you can recommend for people to do in their either daily lives or to sit down and to focus in on to help in healing?
Absolutely. One of the things I love, as I mentioned, is using crystals. You don't have to have a full crystal therapy session, but you can carry crystals with you in your pocket and keep them around you in your home and carry them in your purse for a particular issue that you're dealing with. And that's very helpful. I love doing affirmations. I do them every day myself. They are very helpful in changing the mindset if you're having negative thoughts. Repeating affirmations 20, 30 times a day helps to change the mental process. And it's particularly helpful after you have a pranic psychotherapy session because your mind is already cleared of the negative thoughts and now you're putting in positive affirmations. I mentioned earlier the forgiveness technique. That's something I'll put up on my website because there's a particular pattern as to how this forgiveness exercise goes. So you'll be able to see the words and what is said when you're visualizing the person in front of you.
Oh, I love that. That's going to be on your website, the forgiveness technique?
Yes.
Okay. So we're going to give that. I want you to continue with your helpful hints here for people. But so that's vibrational dash or hyphen? Was it?
Yeah, it's vibrational, dash
healing therapies.com. And
yes.
So then they can actually, I'm telling you, if we could all, Suzy, if we could all practice that, there wouldn't be, everybody, there would be such less illness and heartache and devastation throughout the world if we were able to practice that.
And I absolutely believe that. If you're coming from a loving space in your heart, because you're feeling that love, you don't feel that you're having any negative thoughts, you love yourself, that comes out from you. And if we can all heal ourselves, then we'll be in a much more loving space and we treat each other much better. Exactly.
Now go ahead. You have a couple other things that people can do regarding. Yeah, go ahead.
I have this technique. It's called tapping the third eye. So what you do is you take your thumb, your forefinger, and your middle finger, and you put them together, and you lightly start tapping your third eye. And you say to yourself, I am that, I am that, I am that. And you do that about 10 to 15 times. And what that does, it strengthens your will. It gives you the strength to go ahead and go do what you want to do in the world. So if you're feeling weak, I have to speak in public and I'm not feeling strong enough. You do this little technique and it expands the third eye and you feel stronger.
Oh, I love that. And that you can
it's
do
very
that.
Simple.
Yeah, you can do it anywhere.
Anywhere. People don't know what you're doing and you're only doing it 3 times. That's okay.
I can see somebody at the airport just tapping their third eye. I can get on that plane. I can get on that plane. I can get on that plane.
I can do that. I can do it.
Fantastic. Anything else?
There is the 6-3-6-3 breathing technique. It's a pranic breathing. So you inhale for 6 counts. You hold for 3 counts. You inhale for 6 counts. and you hold for 3 counts. And obviously, I'm sorry, it's inhale for 6 counts, hold for 3 counts, exhale for 6 counts, and hold for 3 counts. So you can either do that with both nostrils or alternating nostrils. And you alternate back and forth until you feel that sense of peace and that you feel that there's a calmness that has occurred.
Now we don't breathe. We don't breathe, Suzy. Come on now.
Well, this will force you to breathe and be aware of your breathing patterns, because when we are stressed or nervous, we breathe shallow.
Shallow breathers. I think we're a world of shallow breathers at the moment. Very reactionary in some respects, but very few people take the time or the effort, or I don't think that they even think about it. I don't think that they necessarily even think about it, that deep breathing. And as a matter of fact, when people first do that, because I've done that particular technique, when you first do it, it's uncomfortable. It is. It's like putting on tight shoes or something. You're like, oh, what is this? Right?
But within moments, you start to notice that your breathing has slowed down and that you're breathing more deeply, and it becomes very comfortable.
Wonderful. You know, it's something I do, and I do this once in a while, and I really like it. When I have a nice glass, something that I like to hold. It could be like one of my favorite drinking glasses, and I will put the freshest, most purest water I can find. I have a filter that is it removes everything, right? But sometimes I'll go and I'll get my gourmet water, whatever you want to call that. Okay, but it's delicious. It tastes delicious. So I'll pour the water in my favorite glass or goblet, and I will tape a message to it. And sometimes the message is I am loved, or I am happy, or whatever it is that I want to drink into my system, drink into my energy. I will put that. I'll either put it on a piece of paper and it's written on there, and I'll sit it on there, or I'll actually tape it to the glass. And for whatever reason, and maybe this, I know Dr. Emoto was talking about the power of words, and even just the written word,
yes,
how powerful that is. I really love doing that, and it's something that I forget sometimes in our hectic world, but it's something that's a real simple thing for people to do, and it's a lovely visual of when you take that fresh, pure water, you're drinking it into your body. You're also drinking in that love or that acceptance into your body.
Yes, it's the energy of that is being infused into the water. You're visually seeing the words. It's being infused in your body that way. And then once you drink the water, that energy is in. So that's a very, very powerful tool.
And as you know, water is so conductive. It's a very powerful, we don't, not many people realize how powerful water is. It's an amazing force, and I think it's one of the most important things on the planet.
Absolutely. And clean water for that matter too.
And clean water. Well, it's also, because I've talked to healers as well. They say, when you get into the shower, you let the water run off of you, and you let all of your worries and troubles sort of go down the drain. But then also we have modern society with waterways and stuff. So a lot of the water is, it's all those energies are also there from other folks too. So it's really good to be able to actually drink in pure water that is going and feeding your cells on a regular basis. I think on a regular basis it's really important.
Absolutely.
Oh, my goodness. We're almost out of time, and so I wanted to give you just a couple moments. If there's anything that has come up as we're talking that you want to make sure you let our listeners know, and then we'll give out the information again on how they can reach you. But is there anything that has popped up that you want to be able to say to our listeners right now?
There are just a couple of more techniques I did want to mention.
Go for it. Yes.
Very important to eat healthy food. And specifically, do not eat pork or eel because they're energetically dirty. And when you're taking in the dirty energy of these foods, it's in your system. So it's very important that you try to eat as clean as possible. I'm not saying don't go out and have a good time and, not eat your favorite foods, but to be aware of some of the foods that are energetically dirty. And one of the last techniques that I really love and is very beneficial, and I do it every day, is take a lavender Epsom salt bath, or you can do a lavender coarse salt shower. So you get some coarse salt, you put some lavender oil in there, and you actually rub it on your body, and it dispels the dirty energy.
I love that. Yes, so the lavender Epsom salt bath, or the coarse salt, like a light scrub. You're not sitting there to scrub.
Yes.
It's so interesting that you said the thing about I didn't know about eel, but you said the thing about pork. I for the life of me, I have a very hard time with pork. What is the thing with pork and eel? Why is it those two?
Those two are very dirty foods. It's interesting that you say that you had a problem with the pork. Knowing you and having been around you and doing the energy healing on you, I sense and I can feel that you have a high vibration. And the higher vibration, the higher you vibrate, because we all vibrate at different levels. The higher you vibrate, the more your body cannot handle the dirty foods, or your body starts to change, where sometimes you can't handle meat, you can't handle chicken, and you wind up becoming vegetarian as you vibrate higher.
Right.
So for somebody at your vibrational level, I can understand why pork gave you a little bit of a problem. It's very dirty. It didn't balance with your energy.
Yes, not at all. And the same thing with people's energy. I find that when if I'm in the room with someone who has a negative energy, I physically cannot be in the same space.
Right.
It's like a repellent.
Yeah. That does happen. That's why some people, so to say, rub you the wrong way.
Oh, yeah.
Because your energies don't match.
Oh, yeah. There's a couple of them. Not a lot, but there's a couple of them. Suzy, it's been wonderful having you on Out of the Box Radio. Folks, my guest has been Suzy Gruzen this hour. She is a certified crystal therapist, Reiki master, and certified pranic healer. She's based in Los Angeles, but she has clients worldwide. So if you want to get in touch with her, you can go to vibrational-healing-therapies.com. And please do check her out. She's amazing. I had a wonderful experience with her. I'm still having experiences from that session. We just had it a couple days ago. So it continues after you work with her. So thank you again, Suzy, so much for everything.
Well, thank you, Christine. It's been great, and it's been fun, and I've enjoyed it. And thank you so much. It's been my honor.
And we'll have you back again soon. All right.
Thank you.
All right. Okay, folks, thanks so much for listening. Remember, if you missed any of the show, you can always get the archive at YouTube. You go to the YouTube channel for Out of the Box Radio, or better yet, you can subscribe to this program on iTunes or iHeartRadio. You just look for Out of the Box Radio and you got it. So until next week, I want to remind you, as always, to think outside of the box. Bye for now.